did in the long run. You notice the Spirit Walkers are really low on mana. There's only one with about 100 mana, so he's got maybe one disenchant left. And keeping his water elementals close together like that is going to easily make them take significant losses from a disenchant. Luckily for him, he didn't. He opted not to use the disenchant because he was going to negate the Spirit Link effects on his units. He's also negating the slow effects, which is definitely a good move. That one Raider in the back is in pretty bad positioning. Although he does do the bonus damage to the sorceresses, one Raider being down on a source being healed by Priest isn't going to make him go down. Now you see how low or how easily the Archmage is going down. Obviously he's easy, he's just a lowly int hero. Here he probably has enough. He has enough money to buy a mana pot from the Arcane Vault. I probably would have invested that on the Mountain King, because then he probably would have been able to kill off that Farseer, getting a slow off on him, or at least force the Town Portal. But without a slow, I think his casters are kind of low on mana. Actually, he probably could have gotten a few slows off. Definitely would have been a good idea to get that Stormbolt off on the Farseer, and that could have turned the tides for him. Unfortunately, Farseer again was able to walk away from that fight without wasting a Town Portal. Did a good job of moving back his weak units, and he's able to fortify his army again easily, getting more Raiders and Spirit Walkers to counter those casters. At this point in the game, you'll notice T.I. Rune is still going casters. Right now you need to think as a human player, how am I going to counter what's countering me right now? And right now the Spirit Link is countering his Water Elementals, and so he's going to be eventually, I think when he hits level 5 he's going to do that. He actually buys a Tome of Retraining to go for Blizzard, fearing that the Disenchant is doing too much damage to his Water Elementals. It's going to take a good amount of Disenchants to take off level 3 Water Elementals, so I don't know if that was the best decision to retrain to Blizzard. Although the magic damage is going to do bonus to the Spirit Walkers when they're in ethereal form. Actually, it's going to be able to kill them, do any damage at all to them while they're in Spirit Walker, since normal damage doesn't go through ethereal, and also do a good bit of damage to the Grunts. So he's creeping now. Good option to creep. I probably would have moved my Archmage back, because you want to get that Mountain King as high level as possible to try to compete. A level 5 Archmage compared to having a level 2 Mountain King isn't as good as having 2 level 3 heroes. You know, you're going to have 2 level 2 abilities rather than having just 1 level 3 ability and 1 level 1 ability. It's better to have that Chainwave. I'm talking about getting a higher level Stormbolt for the Mountain King, and a higher level Water Elementals for Archmage. Actually, the Water Elemental's doing a good job. Anyway, you notice he sold a lot of his, I think he had some Slippers of Agility on his Archmage that weren't actually doing very much other than increasing his armor and a little bit, so he's selling them at the Goblin Merchant to buy more healing scrolls. Definitely a good decision. Those items weren't doing anything to help his cause at this point, and he needed to get those scrolls of healing, again, to counter the effects of the Chain Lightning. The Orc army now has a very, very significant force. Getting Demolishers again to counter those casters in the back lines, the siege damage is going to do crazy amounts of damage. And enough Raiders now. He's got 4 Raiders out, easily going to be able to ensnare and take off units. He should have canceled the Sorceress before it came down. Unfortunately, the Arcane Sanctum was destroyed. Knowing that his Arcane Sanctum was under attack, he makes the decision to Town Portal back, although he's in really bad positioning at the moment. He's really tight with all his army, and he's really vulnerable to Chainwave. He does do a good move by bringing them back, and he uses the Scroll of Healing, but his Mountain King is still up there in front. He's kind of trapped right now due to his Sorceresses and Priests kind of blocking the way, in addition to the farms. Bad positioning for the Mountain King. Just kind of bad luck. He did use a good Thunderclap there, and he had a Potion of Healing to keep him alive a little bit longer. Used the Tome of Retraining now on his Archmage to retrain Blizzard, and it's actually doing a really good job taking out those Spirit Walkers. Kind of makes the Archmage stick out like a sore thumb, though, using with that. And the Tauren Chieftain is able to reign freely, and he's just beating down on that Archmage. Full life Tauren Chieftain is going to be really hard. This is looking pretty bad now for the human player. Sorceresses and Casters, though, in really good positioning. Fortunately, the positioning isn't going to matter too much now for him, because the Demolisher in the back lines is just going to be able to wreak havoc on him. You know, it's a volley every now and then. You start seeing the Sorcerers just explode. Actually, right now the Demolisher is attacking a Peasant in the back line, so bad move by him, but it's kind of over at this point. Right now he's got 3 Ivory Towers on this Mountain King. How about he uses them to block off that Tauren Chieftain? Alright, never mind. That was a stupid idea. It was a joke, guys. It was a joke. This is an audio commentary. It's supposed to be fun and entertaining. Use the Ivory Towers to block off that Tauren Chieftain. That would have been a cool thing to do, huh? Yeah, maybe not. Alright, bringing in his last bit of militia, kind of a last-ditch effort to try to kill off that Tauren chieftain. He's not going to die to just militia. He's going to be able to run back easily if he gets too low on health. At this point the game's over. He's going to be declaring GG. I want to go over some notes of mine. Actually, he doesn't declare GG. Sorry about that. So I wanted to go over some notes that I took in prepping to do this audio commentary. Maybe I forgot to mention something. I mentioned the militia creeping early on for that Goblin Laboratory. On that map, and actually on a few others, I think on Twisted Meadows, this maybe be an option, depending on where you spawn, I think, to try to bring some early footmen in your water elementals and militia to take out that the Goblin Laboratory camps. The farm placement and building layout, I mentioned that he put his farm out as a scouting ability, and his building layout was pretty good, kind of making it difficult to do any early game harassment on his peasants, giving him a lot of options to as far as blocking in his opponent if he decides to go in that. Dealing with the early game creepjack, I kind of went over that when they were doing the early game skirmishes there. The human player was doing really, really well early game. Just goes to show you that the early game isn't everything. It does kind of turn the tides a little bit. It could turn the tides, but it's just what you do with that advantage after you have it. And he chose the human player decided to creep with his advantage instead of putting a lot of the pressure on at better points. Timing was definitely something that he needs to work on. Maybe to hit a little bit earlier when those tier 2 buildings for the orc were going up. Possibly even sending out a scout or two, even a militia or footman. If you had images or something, you need to be able to keep tabs on your opponents to know what they're doing. Maybe if he scouted out that so many raiders and spirit walkers were going to be in the mix, that he could have switched to, say, spirit breakers, or is that what they're called? Spellbreakers. You know, those human units from the caster unit. Those probably would have been a good counter. As I mentioned to him, actually, when I replied to the private message form, was to go Spellbreakers. I'm not a human player again, so I don't know if that was probably a better option, but the mana break that they have, and they're invulnerable to Chain Wave, so kind of an all-in-one counter, I think. This is actually what I mentioned to him in my reply. Let's see. Went over how Spirit Lincoln and Snare was making dealing with those grunts really hard. As the DPS at that the midpoints in the game it's basically going to be your Mountain King, Archmage, and Water Elementals. Your footmen aren't going to be DPS. They're basically just holding the front lines. So they're basically fodder to Chainwave without Scrolls of Healing, and having to deal with Ensnare versus the Sorceresses and the Casters at that point in the game. Basically just kind of going over everything I said in the audio commentary, in case you guys missed it due to my monotone voice, because it's so monotone. Creeping after the retreat, I went over that at that point in the game. He opted to creep, and now he had to defend at that time of the game, towards the last battle. Let's see what else he does. He sold his items to rebuild his forces and buy Scrolls of Healing against counter the effects of Chainwave. And let's see, the option to retrain to Blizzard over Water Elementals. I gotta find out if there's a top human player that's doing that, because I've actually seen a bunch of human players doing that, especially versus Orc. I know the magic damage is extra to the grunts, but those Water Elementals are so awesome, and unless you're dealing with shamans, they're not going to fall as easily to Spirit Link, or to the disenchant from the Spirit Walkers. Alright guys, hope you appreciated this audio commentary. I'm planning on doing another one relatively soon, again on an average game. I like this. I got a pretty good response from players sending me their replays for critiquing, and pretty good response from the comments from the posting on the front page here of the audio commentaries. Again, don't look at this as something Gosus are doing. You know, not every player is a Gosu, and I think learning from average players might be a better option for the majority of the people who actually watch our audio commentaries from WCReplays.com. So, hope you guys like it. I need to think of a good tip for you guys. I didn't even think about that. What would be a good tip for you guys? It's a good tip today. Man, this is a tough one. I'll think of a better tip for you guys next time. I can't think of a tip at the moment. Dang, I don't have any tips. What's wrong with me? I usually have tons of tips. Okay, here's one. Always charge your cell phone battery, because it sucks to be low on battery. Is that a good tip? Nah, that's not a good tip. I like my cereal one from last time. I'm just going to reiterate that. For if you guys didn't listen to my last audio commentary, let's go ahead and repeat that tip from last one. Buy bag cereal instead of the box cereal, because you're going to get more cereal in it. It's generally cheaper, although it's not in the famous brands. It tastes pretty much the same, and you're not hurting the environment as much by just throwing away cardboard, because honestly, what do you need with that cardboard? The cereal is just in the bag, right? So just buy it in the bag. Those, store names, like Puff Soap Cocoa, or all the cheesy names they come up with, that and the funny characters on there. So you still get all the cool animations. It's just on the plastic bag. So, oh jeez. All right, guys, expect a few more audio commentaries from me, especially this month. I'm gonna have some free time available. I'm gonna try to catch up with my quota and get you guys some good audio commentaries. Have a great day, guys. I'll talk to you later.